We sure hope Radio IQ is one of them. Find out more on the website, givingday.vt.edu.
On the TED Radio Hour, New York Times columnist Charles Blow is calling on Black Americans to move south, a reverse Great Migration to vote Black politicians into office.
I believe that state power is essential to Black liberation in this country.
New takes on Black history. That's next time on the TED Radio Hour from NPR.
Tuesday evenings at 8 and Saturday afternoons at 2 on Radio IQ.
Funding for Here and Now comes from MathWorks, creator of MATLAB and Simulink software for technical computing and model-based design. MathWorks, accelerating the pace of discovery in engineering and science. Learn more at mathworks.com. And WBUR presenting Endless Thread, a podcast about the Internet's untold histories and unsolved mysteries, from stories about a mountain of dishware in the woods to the world's largest glitter consumer. Endless Thread. Listen wherever you get your podcasts.
It's Here and Now, and there have been so many firings right now, you'd be forgiven for not knowing that the Trump administration let go thousands from health agencies over the weekend. At the Food and Drug Administration, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, and the National Institutes of Health. This will have a huge impact, but we want to take a look at one consequence that might not be immediately obvious, and that's the hit the artificial intelligence and digital device health staffs took. Lizzie Lawrence is the FDA reporter at our editorial partner STAT, the health and medicine publication. Hi, Lizzie.
Hi, thanks for having me.
FDA employees you spoke with said that a large portion of their colleagues within the Center for Devices and Radiological Health were laid off. So what did they do?
That's right. So this center is responsible for making sure medical devices from hip implants to COVID-19 tests to pacemakers to software that helps doctors make decisions are safe and effective.
You know, I had forgotten that drug and device companies, as you remind us, pay the FDA user fees. And this is to ensure products are reviewed quickly and that the FDA, it's like a partnership. They work closely with companies as they develop something. It's called a pre-submission because everybody wants to get it right.
Yes, yeah. The FDA has really worked in recent years to engage with companies, not just when the company submits a product for review, but even before they get to that point, releasing guidelines, holding advisory committee meetings to kind of explain to companies, these are the things that we're looking for so that they can encourage innovation.
Yeah, and they want this. Tech companies or, medical companies that use tech want this because these are expert FDA reviewers.
So these FDA reviewers are in charge of overseeing technology coming from these companies, making sure that they are safe and effective. But at the same time, the FDA wants to help patients get access to potentially life-saving technology. And to do that, they are providing companies with extra resources to help the process be more clear and encourage innovation.
You write the letter that these fired workers received said their knowledge and skills did not fit the agency's needs. Did they explain why they didn't fit the needs?
No, all the employees basically got that blanket statement in the same form email, just saying that, they were in their probationary period of around 2 years and their performance did not meet the standards to be kept on at the agency.
Well, and I'm sure that raised a lot of speculation because in 2022, FDA regulators rejected a bid from Elon Musk's company Neuralink, and the company Neuralink wanted to test a brain implant in humans. Do workers you've spoken with see this move to fire people who may have, made that rejection now as payback for turning down Musk's project?
It's hard to know. I think a lot of the cuts really seemed across the board probationary employees, not targeted at any specific division, but it's a worthy conflict of interest to bring up. I think Reuters reported that the reviewers who had worked on Neuralink specifically were among those terminated. So it's definitely something worth pointing out. Unclear if that was a part of the motivation of cutting folks in the device center.
Well, on the other hand, it's puzzling because President Trump recently approved an investment of $500 billion in U.S.-based AI infrastructure. Elon Musk's companies stand to profit from that, and a lot of that money, could conceivably be funneled through these medical technologies. So it would seem like the administration and Elon Musk would both stand to benefit from this going well. Is there talk about how these people get replaced? I mean, who does this important work? And again, why this work is so important?
So no talk yet about who will replace these workers or whether there is a plan for them to be replaced. It is, I'm glad you pointed out that $500 billion investment, because I think that's where experts in AI and in industry are confused. On the one hand, this administration is clearly so interested in making the U.S. the center of AI innovation. And on the other hand, you're getting rid of folks that are experts in regulating that AI and making sure that it's as safe and effective as it can be. This work is so important. AI, while it has the capability of helping doctors make faster decisions, helping doctors more accurately diagnose cancers from radiology images, when it goes wrong, it can be life or death. And my colleague Casey Ross did an excellent investigation into a flawed sepsis algorithm made by Epic. And, there can be false alarms that can, either positive or negative, that can lead doctors astray and waste time. And so that's why it's so important to have strong regulation of AI.
Yeah, you want the correct algorithm in some kind of detection device to get sepsis, which can be fatal. Lizzie Lawrence, the FDA reporter at our editorial partner STAT, the Health and Medicine publication. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Here and Now is a production of NPR and WBUR. I'm Robin Young in Boston.
And I'm Asma Khalid in Washington, D.C. It's Here and Now.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our February 18th, 2025, 2 o'clock p.m. session of Roanoke City Council. It is great to see you all here today. Before we begin, I'm going to invite Judge Carson to come forward and join Evelyn Powers here in the center to administer the oath of office. If you can just step over there.
Ándale, ándale.
You're ready, I swear you in at some point, that way I have everybody. All right, we're ready. I state your name.
I,
the City of Roanoke
of the Council of the City of Roanoke
to fill the unexpired term
to fill the unexpired term
of the office of Joseph Cobb,
of the office of Joseph Cobb,
ending December 31, 2026,
ending December 31, 2026,
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Your official. Let's get this signed.
Thank you.
Mayor, nice to see you.
Thank you, Judge Carson. Now, as is our custom, we always invite our newest city council member to sing the national anthem.
Really sad thing.
No, we won't do that. I'm going to ask our city clerk, Ms. McCoy, to please call the roll.
All right. Mr. Nash? Mr. Volleson?
Here.
Ms. Powers?
Here.
Mr. Hagan?
Here.
Ms. Sanchez-Jones?
Here.
Vice Mayor McGuire?
Here.
And Mayor Cobb?
Here, and a quorum is present. Our invocation this afternoon will be delivered by the Reverend Terry Kemp, Children's Pastor and Ministries Director at Fort Chiswell Church of God, and then I will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Is Reverend Kemp here? There you are. All right, let's please stand.
Let us pray. Almighty God, we thank you for this day and your abundant goodness you provide each of us. We thank you for the opportunity to serve this city, this community with our talents and our abilities you've bestowed upon each of us. We ask your blessing and guidance on our new mayor and our new and returning council members, as well as our city leaders in their responsibilities to represent all citizens of this city in a professional and trustworthy manner. We pray for wisdom and vision in our endeavors to put forth our best efforts for the benefits of this great city. Let us acknowledge the importance of each viewpoint shared here today. Let us work as a united team for the pursuit of achievement and continued success. We pray for your divine inspiration and wisdom regarding issues addressed in this chamber today and days to come. Almighty God, we earnestly pray for you to keep your protective hand over the citizens of our city and adjoining communities and inspire each of us into greater accomplishments as the city of Roanoke continues to be a leading example of progress and accomplishment. May each of us approach our daily responsibilities with integrity and a focused determination to make the city of Roanoke an even greater star city. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Reverend Kemp. A couple of announcements to begin the meeting this afternoon. City Council meetings will be televised live and replayed on RVTV Channel 3 on Thursdays at 7 p.m. and Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. and video streamed through Facebook Live at facebook.com Roanoke VA. City Council meetings are offered with closed captioning for the deaf or hard of hearing. The City Clerk's office is accepting applications for 2 upcoming vacancies on the Roanoke City School Board for 3-year terms of office, each expiring on June 30, 2025. 3-year terms of office will commence July 1st, 2025, and end on June 30th, 2028. Incumbent school board trustees are Mary Franny Appel and Joyce W. Watkins. Application and information describing the duties and responsibilities of trustees of the Roanoke City School Board are available on the City of Roanoke's webpage at roanokeva.gov, or may be obtained by contacting the City Clerk's Office, Room 456, Noel C. Taylor Municipal Building, 215 Church Avenue Southwest, between the hours of 8 a.m. and 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. The deadline to receive applications is Monday, March 10th, 2025 at 5 o'clock p.m. For questions or additional information, please contact the City Clerk's Office at 540-853-2541. It's nice to see former Councilwoman Stephanie Moon Reynolds with us today. Thank you for being here. As we begin our presentations and acknowledgements, one of the things that I've come to realize is how present all of our council members are in the community at so many different functions. And so at our 2 o'clock meetings going forward, we're going to begin our presentations with hearing a quick shout out or something good that the council members have seen in the course of their work between our meetings, so that we can hear maybe about some of the unsung heroes or some of the special things that are happening in our city. It's not a requirement, but it's an opportunity for us to share. So I'm going to start down here with Councilman Hagan, and we'll just work our way across.
Yeah, so I was able to attend the grand opening of Tobian Cafe. They are if y'all don't know, they're a cat cafe. So they're in the process, or they have adoptions and time spent with cats, as well as get, honestly, a really good cup of coffee. So highly recommend. And that was one of the things I think, as somebody who loves animals, particularly cats, I think it's great to see that in our city.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Councilwoman Sanchez-Jones.
I am thankful that we live in such a welcoming community, and I also want to thank the members of the people that went out yesterday to the Puff Building to show their support for what's going on with our immigration efforts, or the deportation efforts that are going on currently. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Mayor. I want to say thank you. I was able to attend with some others here the recent opening a couple weeks ago at the Fire-EMS training facility, and really appreciated the chance to tour that, and want to congratulate Chief Hoback and all of his team, and thank Lieutenant Moomey for the tour of that. Really great to see that over. If you haven't had a chance or don't know where that is, it's over on River Ave across from what will be the new Riverdale. Yeah, I was going to say Riverland, but that's not it. And related to that, I just wanted to say thank you to everyone thinking about emergency management. I think a lot about. I was out the other day observing some of the flooding that we saw around our city, and we know that we are really flood vulnerable. And I think a lot about the connections between our emergency services readiness, continuity of operations, and how that connects to our efforts related to our climate action plan and our sustainability work. And I'm really grateful and proud to live in a city that acknowledges that we have a lot of extreme weather threats and that we need to take action to protect our communities, our businesses, our property. There are a lot of localities, places at the local, state, federal level where we believe it or not, have people that do not believe in climate change or the need to act on that. And I'm just really grateful that we live in a city where we are acting on that, and we also are doing that in a way that's holistic, because it's common sense and the right thing to do. So really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Councilman Nash?
Yeah. So I have two things, and I'll be quick with it. But first off, I want to thank our city staff, Ms. Corbin and Ms. Turner, and the entire communications department for all the work they've done so far this month with Black History Month, and sharing events going on, and also sharing some of the information on social media about Roanoke's Black history. So thank you all very much for that. And then 2 weeks ago, I had the privilege of attending a Client of the Quarter celebration. So that is put on by the Roanoke Redevelopment and Housing Authority. It is a part of their Jobs Plus program, which is a grant-funded program that basically helps individuals build a resume, find a job, hold a job, help provide them transportation to their job, with the benefit of having their rent frozen at a certain point since their revenue is going up And so it was really cool to learn about that program and some of the wonderful staff that specifically work at Jamestown and Indian Village. Those are the people I got to meet that day. But our entire staff and everyone that I've met so far is wonderful. So I just wanted to shout that program out.
Thank you.
I wanted to thank our Public Works team and all the other snow crew teams for keeping the streets clear during this last couple of weeks where we've had winter storm after winter storm, and I know we're supposed to get another one. So thank you for that. It's amazing to see how quickly y'all get out to the roads and get everything uncovered. And I also kind of want to give a warning to citizens. Don't be like this one black car I saw by Carillion during the flash flooding that decided that their SUV was big enough to get through the puddle. If it's more than 6 inches, it can take your car away, and unfortunately, they are stalled under the bridge there. So don't be that person.
Thank you, Councilman Mollison. Councilwoman Powers?
Yeah, I too want to say thank you to our Public Works staff and really all of our staff here at the city. We're so blessed to have such great employees that work here. This last snowstorm and ice storm, I did get a phone call from a family member who said, "Where are you?" It's like, "I'm at the grocery store." She's like, "How'd you get at the grocery store? It's ice and snow." I said, "I live in the city." And you guys do a great job, and our Fire-EMS and our police department, it never stops. It doesn't matter if we've got snowstorms, hailstorms, floods, and I do know, I think I saw on the news that you guys got like 64 calls that one morning, so just appreciate the very hard work that you do to keep us all safe. Thank you.
Thank you all. I would just add to everything that's been said. I know that AEP sometimes gets a lot of grief, but they've been working tirelessly to ensure that these power outages are addressed in a timely manner. And while some I still think are without power, there were so many outages that they've responded really quickly, and I want to commend them. They're not necessarily well, many of them are city residents who work with AEP, but we work very closely with them in storm mitigation and emergency situations. So thank you all very much. Our next presentation is, we're so excited to have youth here today from the that were on the National League of Cities trip to Tampa, Florida last fall. And our city manager, I'll turn this part of the presentation over to you.
Yes, thank you. So we have with us today Josh Johnson with Roanoke City Public Schools, and we're joined today by a group of talented and driven students from Roanoke City Public Schools who had the unique opportunity to attend the National League of Cities Conference in Tampa, Florida this past November. These students were able to immerse themselves in valuable experiences learning about city leadership, civic engagement, and the challenges and opportunities that cities across the country are facing. They've returned with new insight and perspectives, and today they'll be sharing what they've learned and how it inspired them. I am thrilled to see young voices stepping forward with such enthusiasm, and I am confident you will find their presentations both informative and inspiring. Please join me in welcoming these incredible students.
Welcome.
So good afternoon, Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Council members. Thank you for that introduction. I'm Josh Johnson, Youth Development Intervention Coordinator for the school. I have with us School Division Leadership joining us, and I have Reagan, Zanari, Harper, and Archer from William Fleming and PH, students that were able to make it today during their school schedule. So I appreciate you guys being here. So if you guys remember, this is our second group of students that were able to be part of this partnership with you all and helping with your funding, send them to this experience. These students, a lot of them were picked. Many of them are involved in our superintendent's advisory panel. So that's a group of about 30 or 40 students across the division that come to the superintendent to hear about different policies, whether it's cell phones, about safety, whether it's about instruction. And so they're already sitting at the table really talking about policies, what the schools need to do, what the students need to do to make sure we have the best learning environment. And so it was in Tampa, Florida this year. I told the city when we wanted to do it, if I have to plan it again, I'm going to go. So I got to go with this group as well as Ms. Hicks. We met some of you down there. Ms. Stephanie Moon Reynolds, thank you for your support in this programming as well. So we had a great time. And so a lot of the things we talked about, leadership development, knowledge sharing, networking, and problem solving. This was the 100th year of this programming. And so they did it big. It was really just an incredible opportunity to just see cities. I think 4,000 people attended the event, about over 300 students as well. So they got to interact with students from across the nation. And so it was a really cool opportunity for them to see that. And so we had several workshops. A large focus is on AI. When they opened up, they talked about how Tampa had been hit with 2 hurricanes that season, which the last time they'd been hit was 70 years ago. They talked about how AI was able to coordinate services, send out information to citizens, can identify flooding areas. And so we learned a lot about how AI affects those communities and how they're helping to repair those cities that are affected. We talked about authentic leadership. We ended up, you'll see in the presentation, attended a presentation from Ms. O'Brien here on authentic leadership with Trish Whiteboyd. So it was really neat to see them in that environment speaking, and had several different keynote speakers and networking with other things. This is one of their youth activities. It was a hard time getting them away from the basketball hoop there. We talked about a team building thing. We were all cheering them on right during our breaks. Shane there from Patrick Henry High School. Again, 300 students. They had some really cool workshops with students where they were given a natural disaster. They had to identify resources, who they needed to contact, where to go forward. You know, they were called up, many of the cities, to talk about it and actually give a public presentation in front of 300 other kids. So it was really cool to see them do that and really step up, network with other schools. Again, large focus on AI, a large focus on youth impacting citizens and natural disasters. This is a really neat, if you haven't seen, this was a documentary that we attended as one of our sessions, and it really talks about a healthy democracy and what a healthy democracy, and we had a really good conversations after this talking about social capital, right? The things that you're currently involved in, the relationships that you have are the things that are going to make you successful going forward. And so we talked about looking for these future opportunities, stepping up. Again, they've stepped up. They're meeting with the superintendent and telling her things that the schools need, right? Having that voice, really impactful. And so we talked about that after that, that documentary. Here's some of the shots. I think it was about 30 degrees here, about 75 and balmy in Tampa. Not trying to rub it in. This is really neat. The bottom right corner, that's Connor from Patrick Henry High School. He was picked. He attended 3 weeks of college prep with our partnership with Virginia Western this summer, just on his own volition. So we felt like this was a really cool opportunity for him to be involved. He was not in the superintendent's group. And that was Angie O'Brien and presentation about authentic leadership, where he talked about things that the community want to see. So that was a large group, probably 150 people, 100 people in that group, and to stand up in front of a microphone in that group, right, took a lot of courage. So it's cool to see them do that. Here's some of the activities that we went to. Hockey game, we saw some cool presentations. They had a band at the last night there. We went to the oldest Cuban restaurant in Florida. Got to see some wild chickens walking around the streets in Tampa, which was a really neat experience. Took the trolley system as well, and public transportation, and kind of figured out how public transportation works and utilized that. There's Miss O'Brien there as well, interacting with government officials. Stephanie Reynolds. And so we talked about moving forward, right? And we had a really authentic conversation, and I will stop eventually because I know you guys don't want to hear me. But we had a really authentic conversation talking about this is an investment in them, right? Like we know they have potential. We want to see what they have to say, right? That we want to have informed decisions when we're talking about what the schools need to do, what the city needs to do. So we're currently figuring out what the best ways, opportunities for them to get involved, to have their voices heard, really use this momentum going forward. So those are some of the experiences that we're going to be looking for them to share out. They've already shared with the superintendent and her advisory board on this presentation. We talked about getting involved, advocating for these kind of programs, and explore future opportunities to continue to go to these events. It was a really neat presentation. One of the presenters talked about children are our future, they're the present, right? And so, her rebuttal is anytime you say, like, hey, you got a lot of potential, you're a future leader, it's like, I'm a leader now, right? And so, like, anytime we talk about, like, they're currently a leader right now. Not many people get this opportunity. So we especially want to thank you all, right, for funding this opportunity and really reaching out. This Helen Ferguson was instrumental. A lot of phone calls, coordinating this and getting everything put in place. Our division leadership and really the students that stepped up. Many of them never been on a plane before, never had this opportunity. So I did want them to introduce themselves, talk about, say, their grade, their school, and really kind of what they look forward to or enjoy. And I'm sure you may all have questions as well, so I'll let them go.
Hello, my name is Reagan Corpening. I'm a 10th grader at William Fleming High School, and
What activities are involved?
oh, I do theater, a lot of theater.
Wonderful.
On the trip, the thing I enjoyed most was learning about how other cities dealt with natural disasters and things that impacted them both positively and negatively. So that was really fun to get to know.
Thank you.
I'm Zanari Page. I'm a 9th grader at Patrick Henry High School, and I do theater as well. One of my favorite things that we did while we were there was learning about other schools, how they saw into what we saw as issues too. That was really cool, and I enjoyed that a lot.
Hi, I'm Harper Rouse. I'm a 9th grader at PH, and I am in the marching band. One thing that I really liked doing when I was down in Florida was collaborating with not just other students, but also some adults on just how to make our community a better place.
Hi, my name is Archer Eads. I'm a 10th grader at PH. I do theater, baseball, and swimming. And something I took away from this trip was networking with other people from America, like different kids, different adults, mayors, city council members, just seeing how they dealt with issues and how just figuring out the ways they did it to how we can bring it here.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so Archer took the networking to another level. He's like, I'm going to go get some water. And we're like, okay. He's like, yeah, so I just talked to the mayor of Tampa and asked about her plans for relocating the Tampa Bay Rays. That was a big topic. It was like the news had just broke. And she's like, so what's the plan? What are we going to do about the Tampa Bay? It's like the mayor, right? She's got a line of people wanting to talk to her. And he's like, yeah, I'm just going to go talk to Soledad O'Brien, too, the keynote speaker. I'll be right back. So it was really cool for them to engage with that. Now, do you all have any questions for them?
Yeah. Any questions from council members?
Yes.
Ms. Sanchez-Jones.
Hi. How do the students find out about the trip?
So this group, because it was small, they had a lot of freedom and responsibilities. These were picked primarily off of the superintendent's advisory panel. So again, that's about 20, 30 people in that group, right? Kids that are already currently engaged, that have the opportunity to kind of come back, share their experience. And then when we backfilled the rest of them, it was asking staff. So our counselors, our principals, our APs, that's what we talked about social capital, right? It was like, these are people batting for you, right? Because they see the way that you carry yourself, you're going, the way that you're operating with your grades, extracurriculars. I talked about Connor, right? That was a young man that isn't on the superintendent's panel, isn't involved necessarily in some extracurricular stuff, but went to 3 weeks of college on his own fruition, right? Figured out transportation, figured out a way to get there, was engaged every single day. And so that's kind of how it was picked. Because it was a small group of 8 students. Yeah.
Great question.
Thank you.
Other questions? Mr. Paulson?
I just wanted to know, are you guys going to be going to the NLC event in March? Is there going to be students going to that one as well, or are we just doing the city summit?
I believe 2 students are going.
From the Youth Citizens Board.
Youth Citizens Board, yeah.
Board.
Yeah, so historically, I think that's another opportunity that you all have been able to fund these experiences. Yeah, and so that's what we talked about. Even the last group, right, that really did a good job. Do we bring them back? Do we offer this opportunity to build on what we had last time? So those are some conversations we had when we selected this group of students.
Thank you. Ms. Powers?
Yes, and I think this is absolutely excellent. Love it. And so excited for all of you that have done it. So my question is, how do you fund this? And is there ways that we can look to help fund the future so that more students could get involved.
Yeah, and I think the funding was probably Stephanie Moon Reynolds was some of her initiatives. I'm not exactly sure how that was. And then we used some of our student services budget as well to fund it in partnership. Cover it. Yeah. Next year, I think, is Utah.
Okay.
Utah, so maybe skiing. With skiing, yeah. So different, yeah. So yeah, and so I think next year is going to be at Utah, and so I think I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I know our leadership has really enjoyed this as well. Our students really enjoyed it, so I'm very much interested in continuing this partnership and building what we've already done. Great.
Good. Well, we're very proud of you all. Thank you for taking the time to experience this. Thank you for what you do in your schools, in your families, in our community. Keep up the great work. And I think we'd like to get a picture of you. So if you all want to come up here, and Josh, if you want to join them.
Ms. Moon, could you come up, please?
Ms. Moon Reynolds, if you want to come join us here.
We need to shift somebody over here. There we go. Pete, Mr. Ballison and Ms. Powers. Thank you. Okay, just want to make sure we get you all in there. Thank you.
Thank you all very much. Next item on our agenda is a hearing of citizens upon public matters, and we set this time aside as a priority for citizens to be heard. All matters will be referred to the city manager for her response, recommendation, or report back to the city council as she may deem appropriate. Madam Clerk, do we have citizens signed up today?
We do. We have 3 speakers.
Okay.
The first speaker is Barbara Dirk, followed by Stephen Yankee,
Welcome, Ms. Dirk. It's good to see you again.
Thank you. Good afternoon. I am delighted to see you. I believe in the power of one. I've told you before that each of you are individuals and have so much that you can contribute, that I gave you a key to the city, and that there's one person who's on council today that did not receive her key to the city. So I present this to Evelyn Powers. It's a key just like yours. It opens the same doors, and I look forward to you opening doors and finding out how to best serve the communities in Roanoke. You're elected at large, so you represent all communities in Roanoke, and that gives you a wide perspective of our needs. That diversity is important on city council. I see a lawyer, a counselor, an environmentalist, a community comforter, a human relations person, an urban planner, and now a financial person. So I believe together that you all can do a lot. I am a dreamer. I believe that dreams do become reality. I am also a Roanoker, and you can see by my shirt that it says, never underestimate the power of a Roanoker. And I say to you, never underestimate the power of Roanoke. Dr. Martin Luther King said, I have a dream, and go to the mountaintop. Well, Roanoke has a mountaintop in our midst, Mill Mountain. And I shout from Mill Mountain, let freedom ring, for all of us that are living in the city. Never underestimate the power of a Roanoker. Never underestimate the power of Roanoke. I read from your agenda. The city of Roanoke is a safe, caring, and economically vibrant community in which to live, learn, play, and prosper. a vibrant urban center with strong neighborhoods set amongst the spectacular beauty of Virginia's Blue Ridge. Thank you for making this happen. You've got the tools to do it, you've got the staff to do it, and as the business and neighborhoods and government working together, we can. Thank you.
Thank you. Welcome, Mr. Numiche.
Thank you. The statement I'm about to read has already been emailed to you all, or to the clerk. Welcome, new city manager. My name is Stephen Numiche. I'm a longtime Roanoker. I've lived here since I was 5 years old. So good afternoon. Honorable Mayor Joe Cobb, Vice Mayor Terry McGuire, other esteemed members of Roanoke City Council, city staff, citizens of Roanoke, and those of you gathered here this evening. Thank you for the opportunity to share with you this afternoon. I believe the city of Roanoke has the opportunity, similar to what Ms. Durek said, to fulfill the dreams of Martin Luther King, otherwise known as the beloved community, however lofty that may sound. The beloved community is a global vision in which all citizens share in the wealth of the earth. In the beloved community, poverty, hunger, and homelessness, or being unhoused, will not be tolerated because international standards of human decency will not allow it. Racism and all forms of discrimination, bigotry, and prejudice will be replaced by an all-inclusive spirit of sisterhood and brotherhood, and I would add, active love. You are familiar with Friends of Evans Spring, a small group of committed citizens devoted to peace, justice, and nonviolence. We, Friends of Evans Spring, have effectively implemented the principles and practices of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. while working to protect the environment and those who have been marginalized throughout the history of Roanoke. I am here to introduce two similar, like-hearted organizations, hence the hat, that will partner with Friends of Evans Spring and other local groups to bring several trainings to the city of Roanoke. Those organizations are Pax Christi USA and Meta Peace Team. I am the president of Meta Peace Team and the national field organizer for Pax Christi USA. Our goal is to establish a hub for Meta Peace Team and a chapter for Pax Christi USA here in the city of Roanoke. The trainings that we have scheduled, the first one is on Sunday, March 16th from 1:30 to 6:30 at Heights Community Church. It is called Bystander Intervention Training. The cost is $45, but there's a sliding scale and scholarships available. The other training is scheduled twice, but we're looking to schedule both of these multiple times. It's called Activating the Nonviolent Lifestyle, Principles and Practices of Kingian Nonviolence. The first one is scheduled Saturday, March 22nd from 1 to 5 at Williams Memorial Baptist Church. And the second one is scheduled Saturday, March 29th, also from 1 to 5 at Christ Episcopal Church. These presentations are free and open to the public, but donations are appreciated. We're looking for other opportunities and sponsors. Thank you. Wow, I didn't do that. That was fast 3 minutes. Any questions?
Thank you for.
Again, this has been emailed to you, so you have that information.
Thank you very much.
And our next speaker is Miss Stephanie Moon Reynolds.
Welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor, members of Roanoke City Council. I stand before you today to share 3 things. First, congratulations to the newly elected mayor and council members, and Val Marie Turner as city manager. I had not had a chance to be here since you came aboard. I'd like to offer special congratulations to my friend, the Honorable Evelyn Powers, who I've had the privilege of working with since 1981. Secondly, I'd like to share some historical context about individuals filling unexpired terms on City Council. Council members members of council, let me put it that way, records from the city clerk's office dating back to 1948 show that citizens without prior government experience have often filled unexpired terms on the Roanoke City Council. For example, Brenda McDaniel completed the final 2 years of the Honorable Nelson Harris when he became mayor in 2004. Similarly, Trish White Boyd and the current council member, Vivian Sanchez Jones, having served in such roles. In fact, the Honorable Alvin Hudson, after retiring as sheriff, also served a term on the council. Nothing new under the sun, whether it's a constitutional officer or even a council-appointed official. Lastly, I hope this council focuses on representing all Roanoke citizens rather than catering to party lines or special interest groups. I encourage you to collaborate with the city manager to address the pressing challenges our city faces. By addressing these issues and focusing on the basic needs of our community, we can create a thriving, safe, and inclusive Roanoke for everyone. Thank you. Appreciate the time.
Thank you, Ms. Reynolds. Do we have any other speakers?
No others.
All right, thank you all very much. Our next item on the agenda is the consent agenda, and all matters listed under the consent agenda are considered to be routine by members of the council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of the items unless so desired by a member of council, and then that item will be removed and considered separately. We do have an additional item to the consent agenda, so this will entertain a motion to amend the consent agenda to include this item. To consult with legal counsel, this is a request for a closed meeting, to consult with legal counsel regarding a certain legal matter requiring the provision of legal advice by the city attorney pursuant to Section 2.2-3711A7 Code of Virginia 1950 as amended. So with that amendment, I would entertain a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda.
Move the amendment, move the consent agenda as amended.
Second.
All right, thank you. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Yes, sir. Mr. Nash?
Aye.
Mr. Volleson?
Aye.
Ms. Powers?
Aye.
Mr. Hagan?
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez Jones? Vice Mayor McGuire?
Aye.
And Mayor Cobb.
Aye, and the consent agenda as amended is approved. Thank you. Item number 5 in our regular agenda is public hearings. We have none today. Item 6 are petitions and communications. The first is an amendment of city ordinances pertaining to the removal of hazardous or illegally parked vehicles. We have one measure, an ordinance, and I'll entertain a motion and a second.
Move the ordinance.
Second.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, will you please read the title paragraph?
Yes. An ordinance amending and reordaining Chapter 20, Motor Vehicles and Traffic, Article 4, Stopping, Standing, and Parking, Section 20-93, Impoundment Authorized, and Section 20-94, Officer's Report of Removal, Notice to Owner of Impounding, Code of the City of Roanoke as amended, authorizing the removal of hazardous or illegal parked vehicles to personnel under the direction of the sheriff, and dispensing with the second reading by title of this ordinance.
Thank you, Madam Clerk, and I believe Deputy Sheriff Taylor is here to answer any questions. We were briefed on this during our last meeting. Does anyone have any additional questions or any discussion? All right, Madam Clerk, if you'll please call the roll.
Mr. Nash?
Aye.
Mr. Volleson?
Aye.
Ms. Powers?
Aye.
Mr. Hagan?
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez Jones?
Aye.
Vice Mayor McGuire?
Aye.
Mayor Cobb?
Aye, and the ordinance is adopted. Item number 2 is the acceptance and appropriation of fiscal year 24 State Criminal Alien Assistance Program, SCAAP Award Reimbursement Grant from the Bureau of Justice Assistance Office for the Roanoke Sheriff's Office. We have one measure, an ordinance, and I'll entertain a motion and second on the ordinance.
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, Madam Clerk, will you please read the title paragraph?
An ordinance authorizing acceptance of the FY24 State Criminal Alien Assistance Program grant made to the City of Roanoke Sheriff's Office by the Bureau of Justice Assistance Office in conjunction with the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, authorizing the city manager or designee to execute any necessary documents necessary to accept such grant and dispensing with the second reading of this ordinance by title.
Thank you. Mr. Taylor, are you available to speak to this as well?
Brandon Young.
Sorry, Brandon. I don't know where I
No worries, Mayor.
created Taylor from. Mr. Young, sorry.
Looks like a Taylor man.
Gosh. Thank you for being here.
Certainly. On, let me see here, January 16, 2025, the Roanoke City Sheriff's Office was awarded $19,856 as part of the FY24 State Criminal Alien Assistance Program grant. This is a grant that has been around since actually 1994. The Sheriff's Office has applied for and received funding from this grant. There is no match requirements. All funding from this grant has to go back to support the detention center processes, whether it be equipment, programming for the residents, but that funding cannot be used for any other sheriff's office or any other purpose.
Okay. Are there questions from council members on this? Mr. Wallison?
So this $19,000 grant has to be used on what again? If you could
It has to
repeat
go to the benefit of the detention center.
that. Okay,
We've used it historically for vehicles. We bought a ADA-compliant transport van off last year's grant. We use it to support programming and educational opportunities for the offenders that we house. It can go towards medical contracts, food service, as long as it's a program or something offered by the detention center.
okay. And this isn't to this isn't a grant that's based on us holding illegal aliens?
This
Or
is-
that the term? I apologize.
This-
Criminal aliens.
Well, it's billed as a grant, but it's truly reimbursement for what we did during FY24. These were individuals, you have to have 2 misdemeanor convictions or a felony conviction and spend 4 consecutive days or greater within the Roanoke City Detention Center. So they may have come in on state charges or city charges without any sort of INS detainer attached to it. But as long as they are an undocumented criminal alien, according to the Department of Homeland Security, and they meet that 4-day criteria, the feds reimburse to kind of offset the expense of housing them.
Housing. Okay.
Thank you. Ms. Sanchez-Jones?
So according to the guidelines, says that it will only apply to those individuals who were incarcerated for at least 4 consecutive days without the reporting period. But my question is, it talks about people that have committed a misdemeanor conviction. So now the people that get picked up by ICE just because they were here undocumented with no other criminal record, without a criminal record besides the one coming in and staying in the country undocumented, are they taking them to our city jail, and are we being reimbursed for those, for that state?
We actually are not housing anybody for immigration right now.
Okay.
Anybody who comes in, they are on either a state-issued warrant or a local warrant. They have criminal charges attached to them, and sometimes they do not have any sort of immigration papers attached.
Thank you.
Thank you. Great questions.
I have a question.
Ms. Powers?
So your reimbursement is, did I hear this right, that it's for reimbursement that you've already spent in the past for funds like what you're saying, education, food, medical?
Well-
Not something that you would do for the future?
Right, so it's an interesting grant. It's not truly a grant, it's reimbursement. So from July 1st, 2033 to June 30th, 2024, anybody that we held that met that criteria, the federal government takes the total cost of operating the detention center, divides it by what they call the number of inmate days, and that's 1 day per person at all held over there. Last year was around 118,000 inmate days. They divide that cost, figure out what it costs to house somebody in the detention center each day, and Per a change in 2003, the feds give back 42% of that cost to house somebody for that day.
So
As
is
long
this
as-
each year you can
Yes.
apply for this reimbursement? Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions? All right, Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Yes. Mr. Nash?
Aye.
Mr. Volleson?
Aye.
Ms. Powers? Aye. Mr. Hagan?
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez Jones?
Aye.
Vice Mayor McGuire?
Aye.
And Mayor Cobb.
Aye, and the ordinance passes. Thank you very much. Item number 7 in our agenda are reports of city officers and the city manager. And first up, we have a couple of briefings from the city manager, and I'll have Ms. Turner introduce those. Happy second month with us.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay. Mayor Cobb, Vice Mayor McGuire, and council members. The goal of today's presentation is to recap the new incremental revenue that was presented on February 3rd, discuss our current FY26 and FY26 expenditure priorities and obligations, while of course providing a historical overview of factors that have impacted our current scenario. And last but certainly not least, I'd like to discuss employee compensation. Again, we spoke on revenues on February 3rd. Today, we will focus more on expenditures. Just as a recap, the FY 2026 incremental revenue projection is approximately $23.2 million. That's the little circle that I have for you at the bottom. But before we delve into the expenditures, I thought it was important to provide a historical context on factors that have certainly impacted our current FY25 expenditures that will need to be included in our FY26 expenditures. Simply put, our incremental revenue is not sufficient to address our expenditure demands. I'd like to take a moment to highlight some key projects and commitments over the years that have directly shaped where we are today. As you know, the City of Roanoke has consistently provided substantial support to Roanoke City Public Schools, both for operating expenses and capital projects, with education being a top priority. For example, we successfully built 2 new high schools, with the city covering a portion of the debt service. Patrick Henry High School opened in 2008, followed by Women Fleming High School in 2009. In addition, we constructed a new elementary school, Fallon Park, along with various other school-related capital improvements. During this period, we also temporarily increased the meals tax for 2 years, directing the additional revenue to Roanoke City Public Schools. However, this period coincided with the Great Recession, which had a significant impact on revenue growth. We saw a contraction in property values and in some years, negative reassessment projections. This made financial planning very difficult. In response to these challenges, the city had to make tough decisions, including across-the-board reductions and cuts to programs in areas such as parks and recreation, libraries, public works, and capital maintenance. These measures were necessary to balance the budget, but they also meant that we could not sustain our planned investment in capital maintenance. As the economy recovered, we saw minimal to moderate growth in real property values, which allowed the city to offer modest increases in employee compensation, though not at the level needed to fully meet demands. At the same time, the city began to make strategic investments in livability amenities, including projects outlined in the Parks and Recreation Master Plan, library branch renovations, and improvements to the Berglund Center. We also made targeted investment to infrastructure to enhance the community. However, one ongoing challenge is that we haven't been able to significantly grow capital maintenance funding to address the existing backlog. and employee compensation remains a pressing issue. So now that I have been able to provide a historical overview, I want to discuss our expenditure priorities for FY25 that will absolutely impact our FY26 budget. Again, $23.2 million in incremental revenue will be dedicated to specific expenditures. Our current policy provides $6.7 million of that funding to the Roanoke City Public Schools. And in full transparency, I have asked the schools to provide a budget at FY 2025 level funding, which will require an amendment to our current policy. Additionally, the incremental revenue that you see here includes $3.3 million plus local match that comes in from the state, but it can only be used for specific services, specifically social services. Much like social services funding, the street maintenance funding is the same. Now, we're at $12.8 million. The city has contractual obligations with agencies such as, but not limited to, the Health Department and the Roanoke Regional Partnership that are requesting increases. Our employee health insurance rates are projected to increase by 10% or $2 million. Additionally, our current employee salary base has increased by $5.1 million from what was adopted in the FY25 budget. All of these amounts, which is approximately $8 million, will need to be carried over into the FY26 budget. Other expenditure obligations. The Berglund Center. The city currently provides approximately $2.6 million plus capital improvement funding to the Berglund Center. That number can change as the city covers all net operating losses. Additionally, the Greater Roanoke Transit Company is requesting a 33% increase in funding, most of which is to continue the MetroFlex program. The MetroFlex program was initiated with ARPA funding. The city will need to determine if we want to continue this program with general fund. And you'll hear me say this a lot, employee compensation remains a challenge. Currently, we have 234 employees making below a livable wage of $42,000. In fact, we have 34 employees making less than $32,000. I believe we should change that. Additionally, we have not kept pace with inflation, and at a minimum, we've identified a need for a 3% cost of living increase for staff salaries, as well as a step increase for public safety. The Adult Detention Center has a $2.4 million contract increase for medical services. Capital maintenance for city-owned facilities is increasing, and we can no longer defer maintenance. As an example, we will need to invest $4.3 million in elevators alone. Lastly, overtime and temporary wages have skyrocketed. In the FY24 budget, we budgeted $1.8 million for overtime. However, we expended $6.3 million. We are projecting to spend $7.6 million this year. Our temporary staff budget is similar. Last year, we budgeted $2.5 million, and we spent $2.9 million. This year, we're projected to spend $3.3 million. Employee compensation. Again, you're going to hear me say this a lot. Employee compensation remains a challenge. The city has approximately 1,800 FTEs or full-time equivalent positions, which equates to about $157 million. This is fully loaded, including fringe benefits. We average about 200 to 200 vacancies each year. Another budgetary concern is that we currently budget all of our vacancies at minimum salary range. Conversely, we do not hire at minimum salary range. New hires are being hired on average at 10 to 15% above minimum, and some more. Again, employee compensation remains a challenge. And to stay competitive, we must conduct a new classification and compensation study and commit to implementing its strategies both in the short and the long term. This is a very difficult budget year as our expenditures are outpacing our revenues. I have met with each department to discuss their budget requests and will continue to tweak their budgets as needed. Staff and I are working on a multi-pronged, multi-year approach to addressing the current concerns as identified. This is a very fluid process. Employees are absolutely our greatest asset, and employee compensation must continue to be a top priority. This concludes my budget update, but as a reminder, our next budget update will be on March 3rd, and we will discuss capital improvement program, the city's debt service, our updated expenditure numbers, and revenue strategies. And I'd like to just take just a moment to just thank the entire staff, but specifically our finance department, Mr. Sherman Stovall, who have done a phenomenal job of working some nights, some weekends. We worked the whole entire weekend, making sure that we had, accurate numbers. And I just wanted to take a point of personal privilege to just say thank you to them publicly, because they have done a wonderful, absolutely wonderful job. And so with that, myself and the finance department are here to answer questions.
Thank you, Ms. Turner. I'll open for questions from council members. Mr. Volleson?
I just had a point of clarification. When you said there's a capital maintenance backlog, you gave an example of $4.3 million for elevators.
Mm-hmm.
Do we know how much in total that capital maintenance backlog is at this point?
We are working on that, but I mentioned the elevators because they're one of our top priorities, but no, we definitely have more than that.
Okay.
What question?
Ms. Sanchez-Jones, then I'll come back.
Ms. Turner, I just want to thank you for have at the top of your priorities employee compensation. I'm really, really happy to hear that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I will just echo that support. One of the struggles we faced last year, really over the last 2 years, was the last 4 years, really prioritizing compensation, starting with public safety.
Mm-hmm.
And then the initial study that we had showed some inequities in terms of classifications and what we were paying people, and then learning that we have a number of city employees who are not receiving a living wage. That's not equity work, but making sure we know that and prioritizing that, because these are the folks who deliver our essential services every day.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
which is a priority for me.
Thank you. Ms.
Thank you.
Powers?
Yeah, thank you very much for this. It's a great outline of what you've done. And I just know this is my first year of not actually being physically involved in doing a city budget, but I know all the work that our employees put into it. So I do have a question on the American Rescues Funds. And I'm sure you've already done this, but I didn't see it before I left. If you identified all of the money that was spent out of that, what was actually a one-time expense versus what expenses will carry over into future years?
So we're working on, most of what we did was one time, but we do have some that we'll have to determine if we want to continue to fund or not. But I don't have those numbers today, but I can get those.
Good question. Thank you.
Yeah.
Other questions? Just for the public, one of the reasons that you're not hearing a lot of questions is that we've been learning about this as we go. So this is more of an update for all of us and for the public. I do want to also extend our thanks to the Finance Department and Mr. Stovall. Welcome back. for a while. Appreciate your history and knowledge related to this and your assistance.
I have one other person, forgive me, that I did
Please,
not
go right ahead.
thank, and that is Dr. Patton.
Yes, yes.
Dr. Patton has been invaluable as well. She started the budgeting process in September with the departments. All of their departments had submitted their budget requests prior to me even starting, and I would be remiss in not thanking her for all that she's done.
Well, thank you. I think, now we have a more holistic picture of what our revenue projections are, what our expenditures are, the challenges that we're facing,
Yes.
and the things that we need to prioritize as essential. So we'll continue to do this work. Our next conversation about the budget with council will be March 3rd at our 9 a.m. work session, where we'll dig into the things that you mentioned. And again, we're also hoping that once a budget is presented to us, that we'll have some outreach into the community to share this with the community, and we really encourage citizens to attend those meetings, and we will announce those in ample time.
Yes, we're planning on having two,
Okay?
and so that will be after the March 24th.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Ms. Turner.
Thank you.
So that was the forecast budget, and now the reality presentation. Margaret Lindsay is our Director of Finance, and we welcome you.
Good afternoon, Mayor Cobb, Vice Mayor McGuire, and members of council, and welcome to Mrs. Powers today. I do have just a few comments especially, I always like to start with our revenue and where we are. And once again, I apologize for small numbers. I am working on making this larger for those here in the audience. The presentation is attached to the agendas, so folks who may be not able to see this as clearly, certainly as I cannot see it as clearly as I have on my papers, can certainly download that. First thing I did want to note to you is just a sort of a point of interest to me. In our real estate tax, we have fiscal 25 year-to-date through the end of January, so this is 7 months, of just under 66 million. Of that 66 million, 61 million are the current installments. So folks paying on time, of course, we have 2 payment dates, so it's fairly evenly split, of course, and so as the percent of budget achieved shows, we're a little bit ahead of half of a year, 7 months of a year, and that's always a good thing. I would also like to point out, since we are coming into what I call the business and professional occupancy license season, that tax is due March 1st, and so with my next presentation next month, we will have a lot more information on how that is going versus what we budgeted. I do want to note to you all on admissions tax, we have year-to-date $654,000 in round numbers. Of that, 44%, $284,842, is returned to the Berglund Center. The admissions tax of that amount comes from events at the Berglund Center, and part of the funding for their operations is what I think of as the Berglund Center admissions tax. So that is part that comes in, certainly as any other admissions tax does, and then it goes out to them to support their operations. I do want to note on sales tax, just as a reminder, right now we are patiently waiting, and some of us not so patiently, waiting on the February remittance. It is not in the general ledger yet. It may be in the door with Ms. Burkett's staff. That is the 2-month, sales tax is a 2-month lag. I just want everybody to keep that in mind. So yes, this is 7 months, but sales tax is only 5 months of funding into us. And I hope December was a big spending month for folks as they celebrated holidays, and we'll know very soon.
Can I ask a
Sure.
Question.
Mr. Wallace.
Actually,
Yes.
my question was going to be about the sales tax. And I was just wondering if you guys are seeing, like I've seen in the news, that consumers are starting to pull back in spending. Is there any worry about some of the projections with things being a little more uncertain recently?
I will say I have worried in two jurisdictions between inflation. And yes, the sales tax does not seem to be backing off, but are we buying less because what we have to buy costs more? Since I have to buy eggs at the grocery store, and those are not sales taxed to the state, and my eggs cost more, I may be spending less of very discretionary items where we would collect sales tax. I have not seen that in these numbers yet, but I think the uncertainty of a whole lot of other things may have an impact. And since we have the 2-month lag, I'm thinking that with the April, which will be February information, that might be a better measuring stick if we can measure tie it. I don't know that we'd ever be able to exactly tie it,
Right.
but yes, as we get further into the year, we certainly watch that.
Thank you.
Just a couple further items, and you would see the revenue from use of money and property is still doing a wonderful job for us, and I apologize, my headers disappeared. So our fiscal 25 actual of 2.3 million already exceeds budget, which was conservatively estimated to be 1.750 million. We are reevaluating what we will bring forward in the final presentation that Ms. Turner will do, given that Federal Reserve policy seems to be shifting a little bit. Interest rates are not continuing to back off, as certainly I initially believed that where we would be about this time. So we may be able to, we will certainly relook at that. Whether we make any adjustments for 26 remains to be seen and certainly will be discussed. And then the other item on this sheet, charges for services. It looks like we're way lower for fiscal 25 in the 7.6 million versus 8.9. So I did look into details of that. For the most part, that's a timing matter. We have a number of internal charges, such as some municipal audit services that are provided to the schools. Usually we one-time record those, and in some instances, they were done already in fiscal 24, and we've not gotten to them yet in 25. So we're going to do a little catch-up so that we're more comparative before we present to you next month. Otherwise, there were no big things that we're not going to have this year, as far as I could tell, to raise a concern with that. And on to expenditures. This is the usual category bucket chart. Again, these are all rolling right along the target expected, just a tiny bit with judicial administration being a little bit more than target. So I chose them to break out, as we've been trying to do. This is what is in the judicial category, and I'll call your attention to General District Court Services and Juvenile and Domestic Relations Court Clerk, only because they clearly look running very ahead of totals. And there's a reason for that. Each July, the city provides a $3,000 stipend per staff member in each of those two offices, and that's about $120,000. It is $120,000 that we paid in July, and that's a once-a-year thing. So it's not ratable over the full year. It comes in and sits there until the end of the year. And then one last slide for a little more detail. Again, too small to view very clearly, and I will work on that. The Commonwealth Attorney's Unit, this is all of the different budgeted items and expenditures year to date in their department. And the one point I wanted to make, they have happened to have a charge this year for extended illness, where an employee used that particular leave, and there's no budget for it. If you looked in the other units, other departments, you won't find a budget for it in any of those. We budget for that along with termination wages, which are not necessarily when someone is terminated, but more commonly when someone retires and is paid out for unused leave that's appropriate upon the retirement. And we can't really predict in each department all year long what department's going to have retirements or extended illness use. So we budget that in non-departmental as a big lump. And then departments, certainly it's charged to their units so that we can see what happens in their units. But we do have budgeted funds for that just sitting in the non-departmental. That's a lot of words from me and a lot of numbers for you all. I'm following on Ms. Turner's budget presentation, so I will stop right there and see if there are any questions I can take back, or occasionally they're right on the top of the head, but I won't promise that.
Questions? Well, thank you, and we do appreciate the breakdown of these different sections. It's very helpful to kind of see the comprehensive nature of what happens in each department. Thank you. I believe that concludes our briefings. We'll move on to items recommended for action. The first one is the acceptance and appropriation of an emergency management performance grant. We have one measure, an ordinance, and I'll entertain a motion and a second.
Move the ordinance.
Second.
Madam Clerk, will you please read the title paragraph?
An ordinance authorizing the acceptance of the Virginia Department of Emergency Management Local Emergency Management Performance Grant funding to the city, authorizing the city manager or designee to execute any necessary documents necessary to accept such grant, and dispensing with the second reading of this ordinance by title.
Thank you. Ms. Turner, do you have anything you'd like to add to this?
I do, thank you, Mayor Cobb. This grant provides funding for planning, operations, equipment acquisition, trainings, and exercises at the local government level. The emergency performance grant is to provide resources to localities to prepare for all hazards. Funding for this grant will allow city emergency management team to build and sustain our capabilities in all 5 phases of emergency management and enhance community preparedness efforts.
Thank you. Any questions or discussion? All right, Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Nash?
Aye.
Mr. Volleson?
Aye.
Ms. Powers?
Aye.
Mr. Hagan?
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez Jones? Oh, she's out right now. Vice Mayor McGuire?
Aye.
And Mayor Cobb.
Aye, and the ordinance is adopted. Item B is the acceptance and appropriation of the Rescue Squad Assistance Fund grant. We have one measure and ordinance.
Move the ordinance.
Second.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, will you please read the title paragraph?
An ordinance authorizing the acceptance of the Rescue Squad Assistance Fund grant made to the city by the Virginia Department of Health, Office of Emergency Medical Services, authorizing the city manager or designee to execute any necessary documents necessary to accept such grant, and dispensing with the second reading of this ordinance by title.
Thank you. Ms. Turner, do you have anything to add to this?
Yes, excited to report that this grant is actually for an ambulance. It is a 50/50 grant program managed out of the Virginia Office of EMS. And if you have any questions, Chief Hoback is here as well.
Thank you. Any additional questions? All right. Will you please call the roll?
Mr. Nash?
Aye.
Mr. Volleson?
Aye.
Ms. Powers?
Aye.
Mr. Hagan?
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez, well, she's out again, and Vice Mayor McGuire,
Aye.
and Mayor Cobb.
Aye, and the ordinance is adopted. Item C is the adoption of ordinance to amend the Regional Extraterritorial Arrest Agreement. I almost said extraterrestrial. There is one measure, an ordinance, and I'll entertain a motion in a second.
Move the ordinance.
Second.
Madam Clerk, will you please read the title paragraph?
Yes. An ordinance authorizing an amended and restated extraterritorial arrest agreement to be entered into between the City of Roanoke, County of Roanoke, Virginia, Town of Vinton, Virginia, City of Salem, Virginia, Antonio D. Hash, Sheriff of City of Roanoke, Virginia, J. Eric Orange, Sheriff of County of Roanoke, Virginia, Christopher Sheeler, Sheriff of City of Salem, Virginia, Matthew T. Ward, Sheriff of the Botetourt County, Virginia, and Trevor Craddock, Sheriff of Craig County, Virginia, to provide an extraterritorial arrest powers when certain offenses are committed in the presence of an on-duty officer during the course of their employment outside of the corporate boundaries of the political subdivision which employs them, and dispensing with the second reading of this ordinance by title.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Ms. Turner, do you have anything to add?
Yeah, just a couple of things. So this helps us to meet the state mandate with our Marcus Alert Program by extending the arrest powers to those in our surrounding areas. So it is both needed and we're excited about the continued partnership.
I see Chief Booth here. Sir, would you be able to give us just a brief update on the Marcus Alert and how that program's working?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council, Ms. Turner, great to be here today. So the Crisis Center is actually getting ready to go live. They're just waiting on these, I have problems saying as well, extraterritorial agreements to be activated and approved by the local jurisdictions. We went over to the open house about a week ago. This is going to be great for our community. And what this does, we already have an existing extraterritorial agreement with everyone except for Botetourt and Craig. And since Botetourt and Craig are covered by that region as far as the Marcus Alert parameters goes, this just shores that up. So we're up and running. We feel good. When you look at the rest of the state, I think we're kind of leading the way with that.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? All right. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Nash?
Aye.
Mr. Volleson?
Aye.
Ms. Powers?
Aye.
Mr. Hagan?
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez Jones? Vice Mayor McGuire?
Aye.
And Mayor Cobb.
Aye, and the ordinance is adopted. Item D is the resolution to designate census tracts 22 and 27 as revitalization areas pursuant to Section 3655 32A of the Code of Virginia as amended. We have one measure, a resolution, and I'll entertain a motion and a second.
Move the resolution.
Second.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, will you please read the title paragraph?
A resolution designating census tracts 22 and 27 in the city of Roanoke, Virginia as a revitalization area.
Thank you. Ms. Turner?
I'll give you a little more information. This designation of a revitalization area, allows the city to support low-income housing tax credit projects and applications outside the designated qualified census tract. The Roanoke Redevelopment and Housing Authority requested the revitalization area designation for their 86-unit affordable housing project within Census Tract 22. Gateway LLC and Homes for America, Inc. is requesting this designation to support the first phase of their 155-unit affordable housing project located in Census Tract 27. Census Tract 27 also includes the Riverdale area and may support future low-income housing tax credit properties and projects in that area. The deadline, of course, for the application is March 13th.
Okay. Thank you. Any discussion by members of council? All right, Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Nash?
Aye.
Mr. Volleson?
Aye.
Ms. Powers?
Aye.
Mr. Hagan?
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez Jones? Vice Mayor McGuire?
Aye.
And Mayor Cobb.
Aye, and the resolution passes. Item E is the acceptance and appropriation of $20,000, of a $20,000 contribution for Greenway murals. There is one measure and ordinance.
Move the ordinance.
Second.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, will you please read the title paragraph?
An ordinance authorizing the acceptance of the donation of funds from Pathfinders for Greenways Incorporated in the amount of $20,000 for reimbursement of expenses to the Percent for Art Fund associated with Greenway art murals to be completed along the Roanoke Greenway, authorizing the city manager or her designee to execute any necessary documents, provide any information, and to take any necessary actions in order to obtain, accept, receive, implement, administer, and use such funds, expressing the city's appreciation for such donation and dispensing with the second reading of this ordinance by title.
Thank you. Ms. Turner?
Yeah, just a little background on this. In 2024, staff worked with Pathfinders for Greenways to structure a regional arts and amenities fund to collect private donations to support art improvements on the Greenway. Pathfinders for Greenways has committed the first investment of $20,000 for art along the city portions of the Greenway. This investment will match Percent for Art funds on projects at 10th Street Northwest, in Brown Robertson Park, Walnut Avenue Southeast, the Washington Park Pool House mural on Lake Road, and the Tinker Green project along the new northeast section of Tinker Creek Greenway.
Thank you. Any discussion from council? All right. Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Nash?
Aye.
Mr. Volleson?
Aye.
Ms. Powers? Mr. Hagan?
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez Jones? Vice Mayor McGuire?
Aye.
And Mayor Cobb.
Aye, and the ordinance is adopted. Now we'll turn to you, Ms. Turner, for any comments that you have.
I do have a few. I know I've been talking a lot, but I want to I want to celebrate that we are still in Black History Month. And the Office of Communication and Roanoke Public Libraries have created opportunities for employees to attend a Gainsborough walking tour. The tours are scheduled for Friday, February 21st at 10 a.m. and/or 1 p.m. The tours are open to all city employees and will start at the Gainsborough Branch Library at 15 Patton Avenue. Historian Jordan Bell will lead the guided tours through Gainsborough neighborhood, providing an in-depth narratives about its history and significance. These tours will cover various historic sites, offering a comprehensive understanding of the community's heritage. And like all of you this morning, I'd like to take a moment to recognize and thank the incredible teams here at Roanoke who have worked tirelessly to keep our city safe and running smoothly through the challenging winter season. In the most recent winter storm, our snow fighter team was deployed to tackle a winter storm system that brought snow, freezing rain, and rain across our region. These dedicated men and women worked around the clock, applying over 8,800 gallons of anti-ice brine and over 1,700 tons of salt to ensure our roads were safe to travel. Alongside them, our Parks and Urban Forestry team have been working hard to clear down trees, especially in the areas of South Roanoke and Mill Mountain, where the weight of the freezing rain caused significant damage. Their efforts, even in the face of trees tangled on power lines, have been nothing short of heroic. I also want to acknowledge the ongoing efforts of our emergency management personnel who continue to monitor conditions closely and provide support to the community in any way that we can. On top of these challenges, we were faced with localized flooding over the weekend. Winter is not over, and we remain vigilant as temperatures fluctuate, and the team was already meeting on yesterday. They came in yesterday to start. We had meetings on today, and they are prepared for tomorrow and Thursday. And I just wanted to thank them for their work. And I know that they are tired, and we really, really appreciate it. And the mayor and I are going to go out and see them this week. So just a thank you to them.
Yes, thanks to everyone.
Those are my comments.
All right, thank you. Could you share again the dates for the walking tour?
Yes. The
Please.
walking tour is Friday, February 21st.
This Friday.
One at 10 a.m. and one at 1 p.m. And they'll start at Gainsborough Branch Library.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, Mr. Hagan?
I've done that tour. It is well worth it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's really nice to see things in person, to get the historical context, and Jordan is fantastic. Great tour guide. Next, we have our Public Matters follow-up. This was initiated in the last year, and Ms. Hedrick is our go-to on all matters that need follow-up.
I do my best.
Welcome.
Good afternoon,
And I
Mayor
believe
Cobb, Vice Mayor McGuire, council
We all
members.
received a handout.
Yes, you should. There was only one item. The last couple council meetings were primarily regarding the vacant council seat, which, congratulations, Ms. Powers. That issue has now been resolved, so I don't have much follow-up there. But Dr. Hartman with the Bus Riders of Roanoke Advocacy Group did remind everyone of the Fare Free Day on February 4th. And Mr. Hagan asked if we could look at any increase in ridership. So Mr. Parker, who's the Assistant General Manager at Valley Metro, provided me with some numbers which you can read there. But the long and short of it is, on Transit Equity Day this year, there was an increase of a little over 800 riders past the 12-month Tuesday average. So definitely a significant benefit there to Transit Equity Day. And if I may also take a moment of personal privilege, as we are continuing to celebrate Black History Month, Transit Equity Day is celebrated on Rosa Parks' birthday. It was first celebrated in 2017. I'm hopeful that everyone knows the legacy of Rosa Parks. She refused to give up her seat to a white man in Montgomery, Alabama in 1955. And her actions helped to spark the Montgomery bus boycott, which eventually led to the desegregation of public transit. But even before Ms. Parks' stand, we had several folks here in Roanoke that were very active in protesting segregated transit, and I thought it would be appropriate to bring those up as I'm giving this report as well. So the first two, there is not a lot of information that's easily available about them, but Sarah Craig and Mary Walters both refused to move to the back of a city bus early in 1941 on two separate occasions. Ms. Craig was taken before a judge because of her actions, and Ms. Walters was fined $10 and given a 6-month suspended jail sentence for her actions. Margie Jumper, who I think a lot of people are aware of, is kind of Roanoke's own Rosa Parks, and there's been a lot of talk about her in recent years as well. But she was on a city trolley on her way home from work in 1946 and also refused to give up her seat to a white man. Ms. Jumper was arrested and paid a fine for violating the city ordinance requiring racially segregated seating. In 2003, the Roanoke chapter of the NAACP honored Ms. Jumper with the Reverend R.R. Wilkinson Memorial Award for Social Justice. And finally, in 1946, there was a Roanoker named William Simmons who was on a Greyhound bus traveling from Roanoke to North Carolina. The bus was primarily empty, so he sat towards the front of the bus, and the bus driver told him he needed to move back. Like these other folks mentioned, he refused to move to the back. He later sued the Atlantic Greyhound Company for $20,000. He won the suit, but was only awarded $25 for his compensation. So we certainly honor the sacrifice and the courage of Rosa Parks on Transit Equity Day, but I think it's really important for us in Roanoke, especially as a transportation-rich city, that we recognize the efforts of these four folks as well, and just the role that they played in seeing transportation become equitable and ending the segregation of public transit across the country. So that is the whole report that I have for you all today.
Thank you. And
Thank
just
you.
one thing I would add to this, I believe it was not until 1963 that the city ordinance, which determined segregation on public transit bus lines, was removed
Yes,
as a city ordinance.
I believe that is, I don't have that, but that sounds right. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. All right, our next section in the agenda is our matters brought to us by our city attorney. And the first is a briefing on the proposed city code amendments to codify city advisory boards to one location within the city code. Mr. Spencer, welcome.
Good morning. I want to hand out, because if you're like me, I like pictures, especially if they're in color, because I actually think this will make things easy. Now, we are looking to codify advisory boards into one location through our city code. And this gives you an idea of where we're looking to put them. And, hold on, let me hand you one that I haven't written over.
Thank you.
But what we're looking to do is there are a couple of things that have not been codified. And I will, let's see, for double jeopardy, Mr. McGuire, can you guess one of them?
Is it the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board?
Yes, you are correct, sir. Anyone want to go for triple jeopardy? I know it doesn't exist, but we're going to do it. It's to the other item that might be added. Anyone feeling a neighborly? Yes.
Roanoke Neighborhood Advocates.
Exactly, we're adding that as well. So what we'll look to do is add these in this form and bring it to you with no objections, the full code section. You'll see in your package, the letter just outlines in general. But this will pull it and give one place where we can go in our city code and that we can find all these advisory boards. We will have codified the Parks and Rec Advisory Board. I think that makes it a more permanent board and better serves our city and Parks and Rec, as well as the neighborhood, Roanoke Neighborhood Advocates. Here to answer any questions. I think this is basic housekeeping at this point.
Yeah, this has been a work in progress, so.
Yes, it is.
Glad to be at this point, and
I am
thank you for
very
your work
glad
on
to
it.
be at this point.
Any questions?
Will we vote on this at the next following?
At the next meeting where you'll have the full ordinance written out for you, and then we'll ask that you vote on it then. But this is an opportunity where if you have any questions, this one is such basic housekeeping, just here to answer any questions. Okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Spencer. The other item that our attorney is bringing to us is an amendment of resolution number 42871-011624 to authorize the school board of City of Roanoke to enter into a public-private partnership with subsidiaries of Secured Futures LLC for lease of school property for installation of solar panels. And we have one measure, a resolution.
Yes, and this is good news. David Collins in our office has worked on this. If you remember, we've done the solar panels on certain roofs. And David, come on up and explain a little bit, very briefly to council, how this is expanding and how, hopefully how we've worded things. It won't need to come back.
Okay, before we have you speak, Mr. Collins, I need a motion and second on the resolution.
Move the resolution.
Second.
And we're going to read the title paragraph, and then I'll have you comment.
A resolution amending resolution number 42871-011624, adopted by City Council on January 16th, 2024, to authorize a public-private partnership for lease of portions of school property in connection with a power purchase agreement between the school board of the City of Roanoke and Star Circle Solar LLC, a subsidiary of Secured Futures LLC, and any other subsidiary or secured futures, and granting the school board lease rights for such purposes.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Collins.
Good afternoon, Mayor Cobb, Vice Mayor McGuire, members of City Council. Real briefly, under our city charter, all school property has to be held in the name of the City of Roanoke. Under an old city council ordinance, as well as school board policy, anytime the school board wants to enter into a public-private partnership with another party that involves the use of school property that results in a benefit to city schools, City Council has to approve that authorization. Last January, City Council adopted the ordinance authorizing the schools to enter into a power purchase agreement with Star Circle Solar, a subsidiary of Secured Futures, for the placement of solar panels on school property, certain school buildings. Under a power purchase agreement, solar panels are installed to generate electricity. Solar panels are owned by Star Circle Solar, and the schools buy the electricity from Star Circle Solar at a much lower cost than from the local utility. This has been a great partnership for the schools, and we would like to expand that to other school property. Unfortunately, we can't do it in the name of Star Circle Solar because they have reached their maximum allottage of megawatts that they were allowed under the law governing the tax credits they will use to finance the construction of it. So we'd like to enter into other agreements with other subsidiaries of Secured Futures. And this is simply an amendment to last January's ordinance, or resolution rather, authorizing that. And with us today are Chris Perkins, our former city police and chief operating officer, and Jeff Shawver, our director of school facilities, who can answer any questions that you may have about how our experience with the solar panels has been. Thank you.
Thank you,
And
Mr.
just
Collins.
real quickly, David, we didn't have to go through a franchise for this because?
Correct. Under the lease agreement, it's limited to 5 years before it can be renewed. And so we're not triggering the franchise requirements under state code.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Perkins, Mr. Shawver, can you guys come up for a sec? I just have a quick question for you. Thank you both for being here today.
My pleasure, Mayor.
Can you just give us an update on, because I know you've had a number of solar projects related to school buildings. Can you just give us an update on what's been installed so far and maybe some anticipated projects going forward?
Yes, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council, city manager. We have installed solar panels on 6 schools or buildings. One is the main building here across the street from us, behind us on Campbell. We have 11 more that we wish to add. That will save the district millions of dollars in the power purchase agreements and the purchase of power going forward. It also is our sustainable efforts to go green and reduce our carbon footprint. We've added electric vehicles and other things as well.
Thank you. Thank you. Any additional questions?
Under the agreement, does Star Circle cover maintenance for these, or is that through the schools?
No, they will cover the maintenance of the solar panels, and then we buy energy back from them at a reduced rate.
That's my only question.
Vice Mayor?
Yeah, I just wanted to commend you for this. I think it's a really great deal for the city. As I understood, kind of the way these agreements can usually work is an entity can buy the equipment and then be responsible for the solar panels themselves, and you get the credits, but then you're responsible for it. If we're able to get a discounted rate on the energy and not be responsible for the equipment and the maintenance and the upkeep, that just seems like a great deal for us. So I just want to say thank you. I was at Fishburne Park Elementary when they were putting them on there, and everyone in the building was really excited about it. So I just really appreciate it and hope to see that continue across as many of our buildings and facilities as possible.
And to add to that, Vice Mayor, there's other benefits too. It helps us with our roofing with 100-year-old schools. As you can imagine, the capital improvement costs are high. And so we're able to get 25-year warranties on the roofs when we place these solar panels on there because they're rework the roofs for us. So that saves us a lot of money in capital expense. And we also have learning opportunities through our science programming through the schools. And so there's opportunities for the students to learn about solar energy as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
How many more schools, would 100% of the schools have in the city, not city, school properties have solar after the next few come around, or how many will be left after that?
No, sir, we're going in a stepped process. We have 29 buildings around the city. We have 6 already installed, and we're moving forward with 11 more, which is why we needed to amend the resolution, so because of the kilowatt hours based on the law. And so we will move in, that we'll have a total of 17 at the end of the next round out of our 29 buildings. So we hope to go 100%, but there is a limitation on, you got to have the right roof, you got to have the right structure, you got to have the right direction to get the most out of the sun and all of that. So we may not be 100%, but we'll work as many as we can.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? Thank you all very much.
Yes, sir.
All right, Madam Clerk, I believe we're ready to call the roll.
Mr. Nash,
Aye.
Mr. Volleson? Ms. Powers? Mr. Hagan?
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez Jones? Vice Mayor McGuire?
Aye.
And Mayor Cobb.
Aye, and the resolution passes. Thank you. Our next item is number 10, which is the introduction and consideration of ordinances and resolutions. And the first is a resolution naming the front plaza of the Oliver W. Hill Justice Center to the Onsley Ware Plaza in honor of the late Judge Onsley Ware. There is a resolution, and I'll entertain a motion in a second.
Move the ordinance.
Move the resolution.
Move the resolution.
Okay.
Second.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, will you please read the title paragraph?
Yes.
Actually, would you read the resolution in its entirety?
Yes, I will.
Thank you, ma'am.
A resolution naming the front plaza at the entrance of the Oliver W. Hill Justice Center located at 3rd Street Southwest and Campbell Avenue Southwest as the Onsley Ware Plaza in honor and memory of Judge Onsley Ware. Whereas City Council desires to recognize, applaud, and honor the significant public service provided by the Honorable Onsley Ware, Judge of the 23rd Circuit, as an active contributor to public affairs throughout the city of Roanoke, Virginia, as a citizen, lawyer, legislator, state district court judge, and state circuit court judge. Whereas Onsley Ware was the first African-American west of the Blue Ridge Mountains to serve as delegate in the Virginia House of Delegates and first black circuit court judge of the Commonwealth of Virginia in Western Virginia. And whereas to recognize the life and legacy of Onsley Ware, City Council desires to name the front plaza at the entrance of the Oliver W. Hill Justice Center as the Onsley Ware Plaza. Therefore, be it resolved by the Council of the City of Roanoke as follows. 1, City Council hereby names the front plaza as shown on Attachment A at the entrance of the Oliver W. Hill Justice Center located at 3rd Street Southwest and Campbell Avenue Southwest as the Onsley Ware Plaza to recognize and honor the numerous contributions Judge Ware made to our city. 2, the city manager or designee is authorized to take such actions as necessary to name the front plaza at the entrance of the Oliver W. Hill Justice Center as the Onsley Ware Plaza, including placing such appropriate statuary and commemorative plaque as may be approved. 3, the city clerk is directed to provide a copy of this resolution to the family of Honorable Onsley Ware as an expression of appreciation of the city of Roanoke for the significant public service provided by Judge Onsley Ware. 4, the resolution shall be effective upon passage.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. I want to thank Judge Dorsey and colleagues for working on this and advocating for it. This is not only an indication of their support and appreciation for Judge Ware, but also an opportunity for us to honor him as well. Any questions or discussion? Madam Clerk, will you please, Mr. Hagan?
That plaza isn't named anything currently, correct?
No.
Yeah, okay, cool.
All right, Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Mr. Nash.
Aye.
Mr. Volleson.
Aye.
Ms. Powers.
Aye.
Mr. Hagan.
Aye.
Ms. Sanchez Jones. Vice Mayor McGuire.
Aye.
And Mayor Cobb.
Aye, and the resolution is adopted. Thank you. Yes, Ms. Sanchez Jones.
Could we know when they're going to do going to put the plaque on there? So-
All right, item 11 is motions and miscellaneous business. Any inquiries or comments by members of council?
I have a question.
Yes, Ms. Powers.
So, when people apply for certain boards to be on them, how are they notified when their information gets in? The reason I'm asking is someone said, I've got a name, someone said they sent their, I guess like a resume in, and they've never heard anything. So how is that process?
My understanding is they submit an online application. Is there an acknowledgement of that application once received?
Yes, they should receive an email back saying it has been received, so it is on file. Then that's when we bring it to the council members in our closed meetings to discuss the appointment of these members. Not all folks that apply will not be appointed.
But with the, should I just give you their name, their information, that you can reach out to them?
Sure, we can check as soon
Okay,
as
I'll
we're
give
out
it
of the
to you.
meeting.
Yeah, good question. Thank you. All right, we have no vacancies to consider today. So this council meeting will stand in recess for several closed meetings, and thereafter reconvene at 7:00 p.m. here in council chambers.